Thank you for viewing this YouTube archive of a Conscious Consumer Network broadcast. Please feel free to share it far and wide. Check out our weekly broadcast guide for weekly updates on scheduled broadcasts. Help keep us on the air by contributing to our network support fund. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter, or get in touch via email. We thank you for supporting free and independent media.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mel Ve, and this is Conscious Communities live on Conscious Consumer Network. The time is, of course, 9 p.m. GMT, 10 p.m. local time, and it is Thursday night, the 7th. Is it the 7th of February already?
No, it's the 11th.
It's the 11th of February? Oh, I think I must be on the wrong day here. Anyway, it just shows how it's all been flying past. We've had a very, very hectic few weeks here. Lots on the go. Lots in terms of content creation, lots in terms of projects, lots in terms of meetings, lots in terms of personal challenges, bereavement, and of course, a whole bunch of drama just to spice up the work. So tonight, what I'm going to be doing is focusing a little bit on some of the challenges that we face and kind of how we've been dealing with them, as well as getting into a little bit about what it takes to kind of run a project like this. First off, one of the biggest challenges with running a project like Conscious Consumer Network, which really is orientated at educating people within the community about conscious awareness, conscious consumerism, how to make conscious decisions about where they spend their energetic currency, their financial currency, and how they process information and what it is they bring into themselves, be it toxins from food, medicine, or just from, indoctrination. So this is something that we really push hard here at Conscious Consumer Network. We really are focused on educating people and bringing them into awareness about stuff. And, this is also a bit of a journey of discovery for Biggie and I, because as we go along the way and we come across this and that, and we decide to put this on the network and that on the network, we also always kind of just, working it out for ourselves and trying to sort of figure out what is going to be beneficial for people and what is going to be harmful. And by harmful can be anything from pure distraction to disinformation to stuff that ends up creating a cult to stuff that ends up siphoning money for projects that just are a complete waste of time or only end up lining the pockets of people as opposed to actually benefiting humanity. And, we've been sucked into all of those kind of traps before. And all we're always trying to do is make sure that we're not going down that route again. So for us, it's always a big learning curve. We have huge decisions to make, and it's a continuous challenge to try and bring fresh content, new information, without making it up, without hypothesizing, with really being conscious of being true to journalistic ethics. And, it's just one of the many subtle layers of challenge that comes with running this sort of project, one that is dedicated to a completely new paradigm of media based upon creating a platform for free and independent media. And we've really acquired such an amazing group of people working on this platform, working with us, and it's just the whole way in which we've evolved in terms of our working methodology has so professionalized since the beginning of 2015. And we've really gotten this project up to speed and in a really good space in terms of we're satisfied with the way things run, with troubleshooting, with the structures we've implemented, even with some people might see it as mistakes, but I see it as opportunities to learn. And oh boy, have we learned lots of things. And, there's a lot of things I take utter responsibility for as content director. I'm not passing the blame onto anybody else. At the end of the day, I make the decision to give certain people a chance. So, the responsibility of that decision has to lay somewhere. And if you blame others for perhaps things that you feel you could have done better, when it genuinely is your place to acknowledge right doing, wrong doing, responsibility, whatever it might be, if you do not acknowledge and you blame instead, in blaming, you actually give up your chance to grow. And then, oh boy, what would be the point of having this glorious platform? If we don't grow, then there is a completely, absolute no point in creating this network. The whole point is to encourage people to learn so that they can grow out of the bad programming, out of the bad habits with which we've deliberately learned to toxify ourselves, to accept our own demise, and in fact, to pay for our own demise through the contribution of income taxes and such like. We are, in fact, paying for people to kill us. It's the bottom line. So, with the creation of a network where we're trying to create a new paradigm, always we are treading the very fine line of trying to genuinely move towards the creation of a fair, just, peaceful, sustainable world, whilst at the same time not being pulled down rabbit holes of distraction and not allowing this platform to be used as a place to create one's own personal celebrity cults, which ultimately is all just about business, really, lining your pockets and making people throw money at you because you put your face in the screen. Many people know that we're big advocates for contributing to projects that are actually in service to humanity, not just about sticking your face on YouTube. We really are encouraging people to think about what they are putting their energetic and financial currency into. Because there's so many projects out there, so many good projects out there that desperately need assistance. And we feel that they're just not getting it because money is being siphoned off in distracting directions into projects that just don't materialize and don't go anywhere. And this is really one of the, I'd say, toughest parts of doing this work is the whole monetary aspect of things. Of course, everything costs money. And because of that, it unfortunately breeds a situation where if one project happens to raise a bit of funding, like, for example, Fix the World has raised quite a bit of funding, and they've done some amazing stuff with the money that they've raised, community centers, the building of free energy devices, and all sorts of other things. They're constantly contributing to other projects as well. It's actually part of their policy that 10% of everything they're getting actually goes to other selected projects. But, when you have things like an organization that's doing well and that perhaps is getting good funding, you always find that with money, it brings in a funny energy. People will inevitably get jealous and they will try to destroy. And this for me has been something that I've watched happen again and again and again, is that these phony projects somehow bring a life onto their own and are allowed to exist and evolve and raise huge amounts of money that basically doesn't create any difference at all for the greater good. And yet, when you do actually have on the ground real earth-changing, groundbreaking projects, for example, like free energy devices, etc., there's a lot of backbiting, there's a lot of nastiness, there's a lot of trolling, there's a lot of people really, really wanting to bring them down. It's like people are so almost afraid of success, or perhaps just jealous that it's not them being successful. But you see, what these people don't realize is that these people who genuinely are running projects and trying to create a better world for everybody through the creation of these projects, well, it's for everybody. And if we keep tearing them down, we're never going to get anywhere. I've said this many times, and that is, it's not the problem with the world isn't that we don't have solutions to fix the problems. We absolutely do. The biggest challenge lies in trying to get people to work together on implementing those solutions. And that is why we're not getting anywhere. And that is why evil is flourishing. And that is why it is getting worse. It's because we're constantly divided and people won't work together. Everybody wants to protect their own little island. Everybody wants to wants the money that the other person's getting for their project because they feel they deserve it, rightly or wrongly so. And so they will do awful things like sabotage projects. And, I see a lot of this going on at the moment in the world of free and independent media. And it's really, really sad. one of the things that I've really had to learn through my journey into creating a media network, which is Conscious Consumer Network, is the importance of remaining balanced. Now, I just have to give a big shout out to my psychologist or my therapist, Blue Star Deer Woman. Yes. You know what the funniest thing is that, bless her, Sharma or Blue, whatever you want to call her, she actually goes on live TV. I'm sure some of you have seen her show Get Lit, and draws with magic marker all over her face. And I sent her a little message earlier on to say, thank you for all the wonderful counseling that she's given us, and just very balanced perspective that she holds. And it's crazy to think that, I see balance in someone who would go on live TV and draw all over their face. But, for me, that shows someone who has absolutely no inhibitions, no fear. And therein lies the balance, because it's fear that brings the imbalance. All right. It's the concern of what other people think, or selfishness, selfish needs. And people who are, trying to create a celebrity for themselves, or, and they are very introspective and solipsistic, they won't do anything to make themselves look foolish, like, perhaps draw on their face a magic mark. Oh, no, for them, it's all about, creating a certain appeal, a certain image, a certain this and a certain that. And I have so much respect for people who can just go about things without really giving a damn about what their external locus of identity is portraying, but just being true to their core inner self. And that is why, for me, Blue has to be one of the best people to talk to in times of trouble and strife, because I get a very balanced perspective from her, not based in fear, not projecting her fear onto me or anything like that. It truly is a balanced perspective. And I do want to thank her for that. I know she had a show on earlier on, and speaking to her and having that influence in our lives that brings that balance has been so important to us. The other person who's brought a lot of that balance to our lives as well has been Hope Moore. And maintaining that balance is so important for managing content and information, and particularly for emotional and mental well-being, especially when it comes to dealing with difficult things like detractors and trolls and harmful beings and energy. Being confident enough to say to somebody when they're bullying you or they're telling you, no, that is enough, bugger off, go away, leave me alone, kind of thing. There is absolutely nothing wrong in putting your foot down. You're not being aggressive. You're not being nasty. You're just saying no. And if you care to give a reason for that, even better, but you don't have to. And people should be willing to accept that if you say no, it's no, and that's it. That's the end of it. You said no, you move on and you cut off. Because if you start putting your emotional and energetic currency into dealing with the negativities all the time, I tell you, Biggie and I would be fighting all the time. And we really do pick our battles very carefully. And we really are so selective about where we feed our energy into. And it is largely because we have become a lot more conscious. We do realize that where attention goes, energy flows. And we have to be very actively careful about what it is we create, both being such hugely powerfully creative beings in our own right, in our own capacity, and within our environment, within our community, and of course the greater international community that we reach with this network. It's so important that we maintain that balance in the way we deal with things, and the discernment to know when to get involved in a discussion about something and when not to get involved in a discussion about something, which battles to pick and which not to pick. And of course, when you're involved in media, you are constantly involved in information wars. So it is always a battle. So as a content director, that comes back to the point of, me deciding, all right, which story are we going to follow through on? Which one is going to be worth it? Which one of these is going to bring real change, holistic solutions? Which one of these is going to be worthwhile, risking our platform and everything we've created? And every time we take on a new broadcaster, we take on a new risk. And, it's always a big step. It's always a big step every time someone joins us, because we never know if that person, a few months down the line could turn out absolutely try to destroy and cause havoc and attack other people within the network, even if they don't deserve to be attacked. Believe me, we've watched it happen over the course of the last few weeks. So it's always a juggling act. And even some of the people that we know or we thought we know very well, we've known for years, there's no guarantee. You never know how it's going to turn out or what truly motivates those people. Because as much as I'd like to think we're all in this for the same reasons, what I've come to realize is that I think there are people who have very different agendas other than creating a fair, just, peaceful, sustainable world, or for that matter, just trying to create a better world for everybody. I think for a lot of people, they realize that it would be, that they don't have what it takes to create a better world for everybody. Maybe they're just going to try and create a better world for themselves and screw everybody else. And that's very much what I've realized, is that the great majority of people actually come into media are pretty selfish and pretty self-obsessed. And it's very much a case of it is a few rare gems who genuinely have evolved or even, purified through pain, through suffering, because they've been through a lot, that they get to this point where they are genuinely looking to create long-term, sustainable, holistic solutions for the greater humanity, irrespective of the risk to them, their image, and, irrespective of what other people say. And these people are the same people that have the tenacity to keep going, to rebuild funding campaigns when they get torn down, to put up with the detractors, to stand in their truth, and to always be accountable and responsible. And for me, when I have something to say about somebody that I want brought into the public domain or I think is worth airing, irrespective of whether I might incur the wrath of haters or dedicated cult followers of those particular people that I might be disclosing information about, irrespective of that, I will always disclose the information and allow the public to decide and let people make up their own minds what they want to believe. I'm not here to protect anybody unless it's against deliberate, willful harm. What I am here for is to discover the truth and to engage this journey of discovery with all my gusto, because I just simply cannot continue to exist or pay into or participate in this pernicious, dark, destructive system. And this is why we do what we do. And this is why we have created Conscious Consumer Network, and the reason why we've decided to engage with a module within Conscious Consumer Network, that is Conscious Communities. Now, along with some of the stuff that we really going to be focusing on, encouraging people to do it. Let me just grab a sip of tea here. That went down the wrong way. One of the things we're really going to be encouraging people to do is to really take a look at if they're involved in some kind of media output, or they're pushing some kind of, spiritual warrior or, let's conscious consumer or health product. What are they actually doing? I mean, it's all very well to go out and do affiliate marketing for health products, but I mean, if you're a chronic alcoholic and a drug addict, but you're selling health products on your website and, you're getting onto TV 2 or 3 times a week, presenting, a manual for the human body or doing presentations for health products to groups of people whilst, chain smoking. And it just, I think we really have to look at where certain messages are coming from. I used to have a philosophy that, it's not about the messenger. It really is about the message. That is what we should focus on. But what if the person who's putting out the message has an agenda? What if they do not have humanity's best interests at heart, but only theirs? Are you going to trust their message? And therefore, I have come to learn that, it's not just about the message. It is about the messenger. We always have to look from where that message is coming. And if they're putting that message out, are they walking their talk? Are they being the change they want to see? Are they actively doing what they tell other people to do? I have a real problem with people pushing health products where they, feeding toxic industries like the tobacco industry. I have a real problem with people who claim to want to be creating a better world whilst putting out fear porn and lots of really distracting and cult-like information. So I guess, we're all hypocrites in one way or another, but I almost kind of look at what we're doing with the world of journalism almost in a way like we have to purify ourselves. And we really have embraced this with all our gusto. Biggie and I decided that we, from the beginning of last year, when we started this network, our health was going to be very important to take control of. We've both struggled with our health over the last few years. Various things have plagued us. And we started taking our health absolutely seriously. We had learned enough from all the amazing people that we've worked with to make the right decisions about what to eat. And it's been the best thing we could ever have done. We've eliminated toxins from our body, very little in the way of alcohol, absolutely no pharmaceutical poisoning. Anything that we do kind of take in is normally plant material. And, food-wise as well, we've stopped cooking a lot of stuff. I think the most that we use our cooking implements is maybe to heat up some water for tea or to warm a roti, potato roti, or just on either side and fill it with avocado and raw stuff. But we really have embraced that, just enjoying nature's goodness in its purest form. Because, food is very healing if you know what to eat. And that's really as well been helpful in eliminating a lot of the toxins we've been putting into ourselves. Now, obviously, we've been running this network pretty much nonstop since the 1st of January. And, that means that obviously comes a lot of stress and a lot of dedication. Like most people get weekends off and perhaps go on holidays for 6 weeks of the year. We just don't have that. So active relaxation or active meditation or some way of de-stressing is absolutely essential for us, which is why we exercise regularly. In summer, the beach, up and down, lots of walks, lots of runs, in and out the water. Winter, hot yoga classes and the gym, just keep ourselves fit and active. And also, it's a good way to de-stress when we're had enough and we're tired of people giving us shit. We just go to the gym and work at all of our frustrations, and it really, really helps. What it does is it helps us not to externalize those stress and frustrations onto other people, because ultimately everybody's got stress and frustrations to deal with. It's unfair to shift our proportion of it onto others to deal with on top of, their own. So being responsible for one's emotions, stress, and everything through active relaxation and exercise and de-stressing is essential. And it's something we've really embraced here at Freedom Central. Oh, I beg your pardon, Conscious Consumer Network. Freedom Central is the previous platform. Biggie's having a chuckle over there. Now, it's not just about, eliminating toxins, eating well, exercising. There's two other very important elements here, which I think get largely kind of ignored. And some people think it's a little bit airy-fairy, but it's not. The stuff really works. One thing, I don't waste my time with this new age bullshit and airy-fairy nonsense. So psychic hygiene, right? Let's talk about psychic hygiene for a minute. And that is quite literally creating a sacred space around you. Now, for those of you who kind of are aware of the greater way things work, it should be of absolutely no surprise to anybody to know that there are a lot of vampiric entities, basically entities that live off the energy of us, and they're working from other dimensions. So we may not even know that this is going on. And sometimes these entities attach themselves to us. Sometimes they take full-blown possession of us. And I mean, demonic possession is not a new concept to anybody. Now, one of the ways in which you can prevent all this stuff, keep all those nasty little critters away, and trust me, we've seen how many of them surround the outside of the studio. Okay, because we can feel the difference from the moment we walk into the studio from the moment we're outside. In fact, we actually see the light in the hallway switch on and off from these entities that move up and down the hallway because it's activated by motion detectors or sensors or something. When there's nobody in the hallway, seriously, it's actually quite freaky. So we know that they're there, but not inside our apartment, not inside the studio, because we work on creating sacred space with psychic hygiene. And there's various ways you can do that. Burning white sage, a smudge stick, is, of course, a very good way to clean everywhere. Make sure you get all the corners with the smudge stick, because all the critters love to hide in the corners, little dark corners. Now, the other thing that's also very good as well is Palo Santo, or sacred wood, Peruvian wood. Use some of that stuff as well. There's various ways in which you can use that. Look it up on the internet. We were trained by a shaman how to use it, so we've got our own little method. But yeah, protect your space. Get rid of any dark energies, negative entities that may be in your space, that may be trying to pierce the peripheries of your thought, which, trust me, when I'm writing articles and stuff, sometimes something will touch me from another place, and I'm thinking, where did that thought come from? And I have to be very aware of it and catch myself with some of these things sometimes, and not allow myself to be influenced by outside influences, but really just stay in my heart space. And one of the things that really does help with that is, going to yoga, always being truthful and honest about everything that's going on and being completely transparent. And that means putting everything out there, making everything clear and available. Full disclosure, always give a point of reference. Even if people don't like what you have to say, just put it out there, because trust me, there will come a time when someone needs that point of reference, and it can be helpful to someone else, and in fact maybe prevent them from getting themselves into a hurtful situation or suffering the way you have. So make sure you always disclose the information, be transparent, and of course be fair about it. And a little, I'm not overly hoo-ha spiritual, but one of the things I really do make time for is to appreciate the environment. For me, there is absolutely no point at working our butts off to, create a better world and try and come up with solutions to stop our oceans being polluted and our ocean being polluted and us being lied to and us being toxic. There's no point in doing all that if we don't take a little bit of time, at the very least, to enjoy this beautiful planet and the environment around us. Vicky and I do make time to go, even in the cold. I promise you, it's so cold where we are. It's so windy on the coast here in Northern Europe. And, even with my big hats on, we make a point of going for nice, long walks up and down the beach, just to suck up that sea air, to hear the seagulls, to watch the few little brave children who've wandered onto their beach and, their thermal outfits with mommy and daddy, and just, enjoy the few simple beauties of life, and connect. Really, you've got to connect with people. The most important thing about our existence is the relationships and the connections we have with people. And for me, that's been something I've really began to do as a matter of course, is getting out into the community and connecting with people. And this is something that's crucial to what we're doing with conscious communities, because we've been noticing a lot of what's been going on around us. Everybody has problems. Everyone is battling with a corrupt system. So it's important to take notice of what's going on around you and to educate people as to why things are the way they are. Almost every single problem that people are having within their lives, money, strain, stress, school, kids, this, that, can be brought back to the ultimate core center of the dark heart of everything, okay? Which is that we are being lied to and indoctrinated and poisoned, and they're making a lot of money out of us doing it, okay? And once people start to get their head around these few facts, okay, I was talking to someone the other day, and they were saying, they spend a fortune on a dietitian, and one of the things the dietitian tells them to do is to eat yogurt as a snack. And I'm like, but dairy is not necessarily healthy. I don't know why dietitians are recommending that they eat dairy products. Why not recommend something else that's healthier for them, that's alkaline based? And it's because the medical establishment themselves are taught the wrong things. So even people that we have been taught to put unquestionable amounts of faith into, all right, even they don't have all the information because they've been taught the wrong things, you know. So always, you've just got to listen to some of the things that people are struggling with. And even basic things like health, obesity, diabetes. Every second person I come across these days has diabetes. And that's all to do with the fact that we've been fed so much toxins and poisons and sugar through supermarkets and through bad education. Everything around us in the community, with the people that we are working with the people we reach out to. And when we listen to them, we spend a lot of time listening to these people, listening to what it is they're struggling with. And everything comes back to the same point. And it's from the central point that we can enact true, long-lasting, holistic change that affects everything on every level. Now, a good example of just how twisted and backward the system is and how it's affected us is, for example, in an average shopping street, you might have a grocery store which has lots of toxic stuff in, but you also might have a health food store. But you'll notice that a health food store is seen as a specialist store, and it's normally a little bit more expensive, normally a little bit smaller, and you normally only have one of them in maybe a typical shopping street, whereas you might have several places where you can go eat toxic foods and lots of rubbish. But try to find a salad and smoothie bar. It's not that easy, but guaranteed you can buy the Subways or McDonald's. So as an example, that is how backward our society is that they've pushed an unhealthy lifestyle because they want to keep us sick. They want to keep us on pharmaceuticals. Why? Because that is profitable. It's not profitable to keep us healthy. Whereas for me, what I see as should be the norm is that actually almost every second shop should be orientated around health and lifestyle. And perhaps maybe they should even license unhealthy food so that you're limited as to how much you can consume and how sick you can make yourself. If you're not making yourself sick, then perhaps you don't need to pay health insurance because you'll never get sick. And goodness me, they don't want that to happen. So this is why they keep us sick and unhealthy and everything is so backwards. It's because ultimately, we are, never forget, paying for our own demise and participating in it. So you start to notice just in the basic, your consumeristic community around you, the local shopping street, the local marketplace, the people in your environments, all really suffering symptoms of the same root problem. And this is what we've been doing a lot of, is getting into the community and interacting with people and listening. Everyone is entangled. Everyone is caught up in this confusing system. And everybody needs help, right? Every single person needs help. So one of the things we've been doing is listening to what the needs are and trying to come up with solutions for them within our local community. And here's some of the things that we are working with in terms of our conscious community outreach program that we're busy with within the CCN realm as well. So the first thing we're working with is creating law services. We are actually setting up a Dutch law website where we will be creating various elements of legal advice and all sorts of things which will be available to people. We also will be having an English-speaking site as well with various things that we will be able to help people with. We've just had amazing experience. I've been involved with so many processes where I've been able to learn what works and what doesn't, what's lawful, what's not, what's ethical, what's not, what's total, conning people and what's not. For example, the ITCCS, Kevin Annett's endeavor, total con. ITNJ, total con. But learn so much along the way. And then you start to pick up, lots of bits and pieces from all these various people we've worked with, like, for example, Dean Clifford and Rod Klaas and all these law experts, and having worked with various sort of law groups, the Court of Hundreds, and all this sort of things when we've been involved with various other projects, we've been able to compile a pretty comprehensive, here some basic documents to help you with various situations. legal, lawful documents that work within the system and that can be very beneficial for people who have absolutely no clue which way to turn. So that is one of the projects that we are currently launching and busy working with. And we're hopeful that that's going to be helpful to people in dealing with certain things. And also save people a lot of money, because legal services are very expensive. And what we're doing is trying to make them accessible to everybody, and so that people can actually empower themselves and start taking on these systems themselves. The other thing that we're busy currently doing, working with in terms of our community development project, is trying to allocate some kind of community center. At the moment, within our local market shopping street is a beautiful community marketplace, which is already in full swing. And what we want is to develop this further with a community center, where we can attach a kind of a Project World School sort of thing, which sort of is also kind of linked with Fix the World Foundation in Morocco, where we'll be having indoor art centers and community art centers and everything. We actually have put together proposals for a community art center where we'd be selling things like organite jewelry and all those kind of things. But really what this whole community development project is about is creating a place for Uitlanders, for people who are perhaps on the bottom end of society, if you want to put it that way. I don't even like to put it that way, but perhaps, the foreigners, refugees. This would be a job creation, goods creation, trade, local integration for foreigners and refugees, because they're pouring into Europe at the moment through a community development, community center, which, as I said, we want to have be doing the organite jewelry from Morocco and everything. Ethical products, but also it will be part of a development and training center, which we want to develop in terms of the media center and the journalism academy that I've been talking about launching. So the journalism academy is something that I've been asked by a lot of people to kind of put something like this together, and I'm really putting a lot of effort into making sure it's good. So it's taking a bit of time to get the syllabus sorted, but really what I want to do is train the next generation of shit hot journalists, get people up to speed on really where it's at in terms of a new paradigm of media. Anyone who's interested in this, I say to them, like, why journalism? Why do you want to get into journalism? It can't be because, because I want to be famous, or I want to be rich, or I think it might look good on my CV, or, I want to make my mommy proud. It cannot be about an external locus of identity. Journalism is like a calling. It must be about seeking truth, not fame. Journalists, the modern day new paradigm of media journalist, okay, is not the desperate, sad repeater that is totally controlled as in the mainstream. The modern day journalist is like a sage and must be pure of heart, totally dedicated and motivated and completely tenacious, and without a doubt, just have a complete understanding that there is no higher than truth. No religion higher than truth, no cult higher than truth, no personality higher than truth. Nobody is higher than truth. And this is why it is so important to do proper research. And one of the things I want to teach people is how to do proper research. Over the years, we've had the chance to look at so many different methods of research, and this one's the trivia method, this method, whatever. And we've really put together a good, simple way of doing fact finders and fact checking. Now, also understanding sources, the background of sources, where to go looking for sources. This ties back into what I was saying earlier. Now, the source of information is always important, just like where the message comes from. Okay, the messenger is always important. Just like, information is important, but so is the source. Because if you don't know what the source is, how do you trust the information? It's not just about the message, it is about the messenger. I can't impress this enough on people. So doing proper research, how to present that research. It's one thing collecting all these facts and learning all this information, but being able to put this information back out to people in a way that you're not plagiarizing and deliberate and directly reading or copying what someone else has written, but in a way that you have absorbed a whole different lot of information from different perspectives. You've mulled it over in your mind, felt the flavor, picked out the patterns, and thought, right, I can teach this because you have been able to break it down to bite-sized chunks, and you then are able to then put it back out to people in bite-sized chunks that's understandable, digestible, and comprehensible to people. So being able to present research and information is also absolutely critical to being a good journalist. Not just about fact-checking, fact-finding, and of course landing on shit-hot stories. It's being able to present that story, being able to present that research, and being able to put it across in a way that people can understand, understanding the way people's minds works in terms of creating a timeline of events or laying facts out in a order which makes sense. All of that is important. Obviously, one thing needs to lead into the other. Otherwise, people get lost. People don't understand. People are lazy. They want to be led on a certain trajectory. They don't want to have to necessarily go, wow, I'm supposed to make, kind of work this all out for myself, which is really what we want them to do, is to work it all out for themselves. But the most important thing is always to be able, whatever hypothesis or point that you are trying to get across, is be able to lay the research out that at least kind of, I can see where that person's going. Some of the stuff we watch is just such vast leaps. And I go, wow. Some people present information on our network. We kind of begin our left just scratching our heads going, that's a bit of a leap. I didn't quite see how you got there. But, we don't censor anything here. So we just kind of, let it go. And, maybe there are some people who leaped with that researcher into that particular rabbit hole. We don't always go down that rabbit hole. And we put a disclaimer up on CCN that we don't necessarily endorse the points of view of everybody. But then again, it's not for us to decide what truth is. It's just we create a platform for the presentation of many different perspectives. Obviously, we are selective about the perspectives that we have on the network. But trust me, even with that process of discernment, the perspectives are so vast and varied that there's always going to be one or the other that's completely left field or completely not true. But again, as much as possible when doing research, trying to bring yourself closer to that point of truth and discernment is done through reason, logic, and I say this again, balance. The eternal seeking of balance on every aspect is so important. Even the way in which you portray information, it has to be balanced. Otherwise, people begin to realize you have an agenda. If your information is not balanced, people will start pick up on the patterns. They've got a bit of an agenda. Maybe they're a bit left-wing. Maybe they're a bit communist. Maybe they're trying to force us emotionally, particularly people who are very, very angry. Alex Jones, those type of people, they really shouty. They push a certain angle of things. And that's because they're trying to hit on that emotional button inside of people, hit that anger zone. And once they get there, that's where the programming is deep-rooted. And that's where people start to fall in line with whatever agenda that emotional projection is trying to engender. And this is something that we have to be so careful of, is staying pure, staying in alignment with that which matters, which is always the creation of a fair, just, peaceful, sustainable world. Not get caught up in other people's agendas, and it's so easy to do in media, get caught up in this project and that project, OPPT and IT and J, and there's so many. And if you actually are really good and you do have a bit of an audience, then here comes the next problem. People will want to capitalize off your image or your external locus of identity and link it to theirs in order to bolster theirs and their project to potentially drive funding that way. Because guess what? That journalist, that, a media person supports our project or endorses our project. And there's a lot of this going on. There's a lot of bogus schemes being set up, huge amounts of money being raised, and they're doing it by getting a whole bunch of sort of well-known names to endorse these projects, and then the money actually doesn't go to the places that it's supposed to go to, or the projects that they propose are just so far-fetched that it just cannot materialize in our current structure. So there's a lot of discernment that comes with being in journalism and understanding the pitfalls and learning to navigate. And one of the things that I must say I really have enjoyed is being able to understand all of this and get a grasp of it and become less naive and understand that, yes, unfortunately, some people are just still subject to the nature of being selfish. Not everybody has the best intentions of humanity at heart, and that is a sad reality that we have to live with. So making sure that if you are going to get involved in the world of media and journalism, that you're doing it not because you want to become famous or rich, but you're doing it because you want to use these things to help educate and create a better world. And that, for me, is the fundamental orientation that is absolutely necessary. It is the core of conscious communities, is being conscious of the world around us and what needs to be done to implement solutions into creating a better world. Now, one of the other things we're going to be doing as well with the Journalism Academy is going to be teaching people how to make documentary films. And it's actually easier than you think. I've got a very simple formula which works very well. The most difficult part of a documentary film is writing it. Everything else after that is pretty simple. Writing the film, getting this text together, getting an understanding of where you want to go, the point you're trying to make with it, all that kind of thing. That's probably the hardest part. The content writing is the hardest part. The next part, which I'd say is the fun part, is the concept development. That's when you start adding all the fun bits, the images, the music, perhaps voiceovers, or you start voicing the script and you start bringing this whole thing to life. And of course, this is something we're going to be teaching people as well. Then, of course, how to manage your online media and maximize reach. We're going to be working with anybody wanting to sort of start their own media outfit, platform, whatever. We're there to teach them and help them with that. And of course, give them a bit of guidance on remaining in integrity, being responsible and completely transparent, because those are the underpinning 3 markers that we completely rely on to sort of keep us on the straight and narrow and not get pulled off into any distracting direction. And of course, the most important thing is to understand that you have to be dedicated to truth and justice, no matter the sacrifice. And understand that even if you are in the minority of one, you have to be brave enough to still stand up. And always remember, the truth is the truth. Okay? It doesn't matter if everybody else around you is bought into the lie. Don't fall into that lie too. Don't allow yourself to be sucked in just because nobody else is aware of what the truth is. And it's easier just to go along with the flow. You won't make it as a journalist. There's absolutely no point in you being a journalist, and all you're going to do is add to the confusion. You're not going to create a better world. Go find another occupation if you can't handle it. Now, we're going to be doing as well an advanced course for the Journalism Academy, which is how to run a TV network. Okay. Now, I don't think there's anybody out there who would be more qualified to teach this to people, because I think it would be very unlikely to walk into the BBC or ABC or CNN and they'd be, you say, hey, could you teach me how to run a television network or a television station? And I think they'd be very reluctant to teach you and probably have you escorted out by security. But we are running a very exclusive and unique advanced course on how to run a TV network, and we're going to make this accessible to people all over the world. So anybody wishing to do this as well, we will show you how to run a network on a shoestring budget and show you all the tips in getting a network together. So everything that we do, we're going to be making available to people so that anybody wanting to do what we do, wanting to set up a free and independent media platform, they can do it themselves. Vicky and I never wanted to be the only people doing this. We always wanted this to be reproduced. We've always wanted to see the growth in free and independent media. So we'll be running an advanced course in the Journalism Academy on how to run a television network in the world of free and independent media, which is relatively free of advertising, free of corporate sponsorship and all sorts of things. And basically, hopefully, people who come onto the course will be creating a paradigm of media which is geared towards creating a better world. So we are going to be pretty selective about who we work with. We don't want to be just sort of teaching people to create platforms so that they can go out and, get into solipsistic commercial enterprises. That is not why we do this. We're not here to train gurus or entrepreneurs. We're here to genuinely train sages of a better world. And that is what the journalist of new paradigm of media needs to be. Okay. I think that's us tonight from Conscious Communities. Next week, we'll be doing Wax Lyrical. I'll be dealing with some things to do with projects and project funding and all sorts of other things. So make sure you tune in for that one. We don't have Hillary Rainbow after this. I think she has in Egypt between places. So hopefully she'll be back with us next week. But we thank you very much for tuning in. If anyone wants to get hold of us, please send us an email at info@consciousconsumernetwork.tv. If anyone is interested in getting involved with the Journalism Academy, if you want to learn more or know about the courses, please feel free to send us your details. About to sneeze. The other thing I want to mention, of course, is please do check out our shop. We have some really great stuff on there, very funky, inspiring apparel, some eco-friendly stuff as well, real conscious community awareness and conscious fashion and sort of conscious shopping, tote bags. You don't have to take plastic at the shops, or eco-friendly cotton as well. Lots of really good stuff on there. So please, everything you purchase on there goes towards supporting free and independent media. This platform costs 60,000 euros a year to run. And trust me, every penny helps pay for the stuff that we do. So I'd be very grateful if you guys support the network by going to our shop. Of course, if you don't want any clothes, you've got plenty, you're welcome just to pop us a donation on the donate button or support our funding campaign, which is the GoFundMe campaign for 2016. Leave us a little message, and of course we will include you into all of our newsletters and all the various things that is going on the network. Is there anything I need to deal with in chat room, Biggie?
No, that's it.
Okay, guys, that's it from us tonight, and please get in touch. Let us know your thoughts, and thank you for joining us here on Conscious Consumer Network. That's it from me, Mel Ve. See you next week.
Thank you for tuning into CCN. This unique network is dedicated to free and independent media. CCN was created with the belief that information is the common heritage of all beings, which is why our live stream high-definition broadcast is easily accessible and free to view. If we want to change the world, we must first change the media. Having produced over 1,000 shows in 2015, which are all archived on YouTube, we look forward to bringing you more groundbreaking, cutting-edge information in 2016. For more information on what is on, please check out our broadcast guide for weekly updates. CCN broadcasts in multiple languages and features some key voices of our challenging times who are all in pursuit of a free, fair, just, sustainable world. CCN belongs to you, the people, and it is up to you all to keep this network on the air. Please contribute to the Network Support Fund or visit the CCN shop. We thank you all for supporting free and independent media.